I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where y'all come for inspiration, motivation, uplifting, and an overall positive word. And it's so crazy because I came on here to talk about one thing, and I literally, as I hit record the first time around, somebody had called me. And we just had an interesting conversation, so I decided, let me just talk about what that conversation was about. So today's episode is just a piggyback off of an episode that I had a few weeks ago about stop waiting until you're about to lose somebody to appreciate that person or appreciate what they bring. And today's episode is sometimes you have to lose those things. Sometimes people have to lose those things to gain that understanding, to gain that appreciation, to gain that maturity and that understanding to see who people are and what they bring to the table or what they bring to their lives. You know what I'm saying? And like a perfect example for me is like I said, I think I told the story before, but in my previous relationship, I couldn't see past myself. I couldn't see past my pain to see my partner's pain or to see what my partner was going through. So I worked in a warehouse, sweating, no AC in the middle of the summer, you know what I'm saying? So I come home after, hours of just sweating, you know, and at the time she didn't work, it was between jobs. And so she just sat in the house all day, didn't have a car. And all she wanted to do was just get out. You know what I'm saying? And I was so focused on me, meaning I was just so focused on I just got off work. I'm tired. I'm sweating. I'm frustrated. I'm whatever, because I'm the type of person when I get hot and start to sweat, I just get frustrated. I just get annoyed. Nothing could be wrong. Everything could be good. I'm just annoyed because I'm hot. And so that's what was going on. And I didn't see how it was affecting her, like being in the house all day and, you know what I'm saying, and just needing to go out like a 30-minute drive, a 45-minute drive, going to the grocery store, going to get something to eat, whatever. Any little thing could have helped to alleviate some stress and some pressure off of her, which would have ultimately relieved some stress and pressure off of me. But I was so caught up in what I had going on that I didn't even see what she had going on. I couldn't even see things from her perspective. I couldn't see her pain or anything like that because I was just so focused on me. And it took me losing that relationship and ultimately losing my apartment and having to move back home with my mom to take a real look at myself and see how much pain I was causing in that relationship, because I could see like on a surface level the things that I was doing, but it made me take a real deep dive into who I really was and the things that I wasn't doing and how much I was lacking in the emotional and understanding perspective of things. So sometimes we do have to lose things, you know what I'm saying? And so, in that previous episode, I tell people don't wait, you know, until you're about to lose someone to start appreciating them. And that's true. But because again, at the time I was looking at it from this lens. Sometimes you do have to lose things to gain the perspective and to gain that level of maturity and to gain that level of understanding to see things from that perspective. Because if you don't have a level of understanding, then of course you're only going to focus on yourself. You're only going to see yourself. You're only going to see your pain. You don't see the hurt that you're causing this other person, or you don't see how a compromise can help, how important it is to meet people in the middle and understand that it's not just about you, especially in a relationship, because it can be so easy to get consumed in yourself and in your problems and in the things that you got going on, that you don't take the time to hear the other person, to see the other person, to understand the other person. But all of that comes with experience. I won't say age, but it comes with experience and maturity. But you got to go through things and you got to lose things and you got to suffer things. You know what I'm saying? You got to suffer through things to gain that understanding and to gain that wisdom, because somebody can tell you something all day, but if you don't listen and you don't take that advice, then it doesn't matter. I know I'm the type of person, I got a very hard head. I'm very hard headed when it comes to things, and I have to feel it before I understand the lesson. Something like I'm the type of person I got to learn certain things the hard way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I think I've said this before, but when I was younger, the old heads would always tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, be careful with love, man. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a painful thing. Just kind of giving you all these things and all these hints, and it's just kind of like, man, I know what I'm doing, and I just had to feel that. So my first heartbreak, man, it tore me up, and I don't think that I've really ever healed from it. You know what I'm saying? And that was when I was like 15, 16. So, it's just certain things you got to go through. People telling me, man, relationships are hard work. Man, I'm looking at it like, man, I like you, you like me. Let's be together. And I'm thinking that it's just that simple. And I had to go through it. I had to go through um, a lot of things to get to where I am today. I had to go through them. Like, people told me a lot of stuff, and I wish that I would have listened. But the way that I am, I have to go through it. I have to feel it before I understand it, unfortunately. And so sometimes you got to lose that good person to know how to know how important it is to appreciate them, to know how to see and acknowledge those small things that they do, the things that we take for granted every single day. Like, if you tired and you don't wash because you're looking at it like, man, it's just one plate, it's one glass, one fork, whatever. I'll do it in the morning. And then that person just comes and does it. And you know what I'm saying? So you don't have to do it. And then you get complacent to where you just stop washing dishes altogether, or you stop, cleaning the shower before you get out the shower, whatever, because that person's going to come behind you and do it. It's so easy to become complacent, and it's so easy to um, get so comfortable because they're doing everything, and you just get used to that. You know what I'm saying? And it's so easy to get comfortable and complacent in relationships, and you forget to appreciate it because you expect it now. You expect those things to be there. So it's no longer something that you appreciate because it's now something that you expect. And sometimes you have to lose those things. Sometimes those people have to go away for you to realize, man, I should have appreciated that person and the things that they did in my life when I had them. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, sometimes you have to lose things to gain the experience, to gain the knowledge, to gain the lessons. And sometimes you don't understand, you don't get that lesson. And now you got to experience it over and over again. You got to experience that loss of a good person a few times before you finally get, let me appreciate this person from day one and continue to appreciate this person all the way through. And I'm not saying that you got to say thank you for every little thing that they do. But what I am saying is just appreciate the things that they do and show your appreciation, whether that's through thank yous or whether that's through you doing little kind gestures for them or whatever it is. But show your appreciation and let them know that you appreciate those things. But like I said, we got to go through it. You know what I'm saying? We have to go through that pain of losing somebody, or we got to go through that emptiness that we feel when we no longer have that person, filling that void that they used to feel, that you used to just expect to always be filled. You used to expect somebody to always have your lunch ready when you get home, or you expected lunch your lunch to be made for work or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Those little things that you just always expect to be done. You expected the dishes to be done. You expected the bills to be paid. You expected this and that to be done. And then when they're gone and now you're having to do those little things, whatever those little things may be, now you're having to do them. And so now it's like, hopefully you're understanding, like, man, it's so important to appreciate people because you want to be appreciated. I'm sure that when you do those little things, or when you do those big things, or when you just do whatever, you want to be appreciated. You know how good it feels for somebody to just tell you thank you, or, man, you're doing a great job, I really appreciate you. And wow, our company or whatever is doing a lot better. This department is doing a lot better since you've come. You love hearing those things. You will love getting those thank yous and those appreciation, whatever words, or if it's a gift card, whatever it is, you just love those little things of appreciation. So it's just as important to make sure that you are giving those things to the people who are around you. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, because again, just 2, 3 years ago, I was somebody who couldn't see past my own selfish thoughts. I couldn't see past the things that I had going on in my personal life to notice the person that I was in a relationship with, the person who I was trying to share my life with. I couldn't even see her pain or to see the things that was going on with her frustrations, because I was too focused on me, too consumed with what I had going on or how I felt. And every time she said something, I would correlate it back to me, like how that made me feel, how her words made me feel, how her actions made me feel. And it was, I never took the time to stop and just hear her. You know what I'm saying? I didn't take the time to really understand how she was feeling, where she was coming from, what my actions were doing to her from a mental and emotional standpoint. And it took me losing a lot, damn near everything. And like I said, having to move back home to really take a look at myself, a real look, and to really just start being honest with myself about how much responsibility I needed to take for where I am in life or where I was, and how I ended up in the place that I was in. And so when I hear people talk and I hear people say like, well, if this person loves me, then, and again, this is just me giving my perspective, my opinion. It's hard, right? You got to go through life. Right. So at the time when I was going through everything that I was going through with my ex, I was like 32. And so that's why I say it doesn't come with age, it comes with experience. So I had to experience all of that. I had to lose all of that. I had to lose a lot to really put myself in a position where I had to look at myself in the mirror and I had to say, why does this keep happening? Why do I keep finding myself in this position? It can't always be the other person. It can't always be someone else. At some point, I got to really have a real, not no surface level, but a real look at myself. And that's what it made me do. That's what having to come back home, that's what it made me do. It just made me really look at myself, really take a real look at what am I doing? Why do I keep going through this? How can I get better? You know what I'm saying? So it was all of that. It was all of that, me looking at every single aspect. So when I talk to people and we had these conversations, it's just like they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? They comfortable. They're too comfortable. And sometimes it's the other person who's feeding into it and enabling it, because if you know that you won't help at home, like with the chores or with the housework, whatever, even if you're gonna do a majority of it, you just want the other person to help out, and you say something or you set this boundary or you set this situation, you set it to where, hey, I'll do this, this, and this. You just need to do this and this. And they're not doing the things that you need them to do, even after they said they would. The moment you go do those things, you're validating them not doing it. For example, if you just need them to wash the dishes and sweep and mop the kitchen and you do everything else, the moment you go in there and clean those dishes when they just chilling on the phone watching TV, whatever, so they're not too busy, they can be doing that. The moment you go do that, you validating them sitting there and violating the boundaries or violating the agreement that y'all have with each other. And so when you start doing that, it's easy for anybody, man or woman, to get comfortable because you do everything. And the few times that you ask them to step up and do something, if they don't do it, there's no repercussions. You just go and do it behind them. So there's nothing they're saying, well, if I don't do this, there's nothing there. There's no repercussions. There's no punishment. I know that that person's going to go and do it. So it's easy for them to get comfortable because now that's the expectation. All I got to do is just sit back and wait. I let those dishes pile up a little bit more. I know they're going to go and do it. I know they're going to fold and they're going to do it. They might be a little mad at me, but they'll get over it. And that goes on for months, and months turns into years. And it's just like, next thing you know, you've been in something for so long and you done allow this person to get so comfortable. So man, but again, if that person doesn't have to lose anything, then there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? There's no reason for them to start to appreciate you. You know, there's no reason for them to start to appreciate you. So I say all of that to just say sometimes people got to lose you. Sometimes people got to lose you. It's like sometimes you have to walk away. You know, you may not want to, but sometimes you have to be because you're too accessible. You know what I'm saying? You're too accessible. You've given them too much leeway. You've given them too much room to get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And now that they're comfortable, and I know I've talked about this on here a lot, once you get comfortable, it's hard to break that comfort. It's hard to break that comfort. The longer you let them stay comfortable in that situation, the harder it's going to be to break it. So you know what I'm saying? Sometimes and I guess that's just the theme of the day because that was the whole thing on the like in the talk that we had was just sometimes they gotta lose you. Sometimes you just gotta walk away. You know what I'm saying? And I know it ain't easy. I know it isn't easy. I know there's emotions involved. I know there's probably time spent. You know what I'm saying? Putting into this. So there's investments put into this. So I do get it. But you got to ask yourself what's important. Like, are you okay with living like this, or do you want to go somewhere where you're appreciated? You know what I'm saying? Do you want to go somewhere where they celebrate you, they appreciate you, the little things that you do, everything goes noticed and it's reciprocated. You know what I'm saying? You gotta ask yourself what's important. You know what I'm saying? Because you just saying, oh, well, there's feelings involved. That ain't enough of a reason to stay, especially if you know the person isn't where you need them to be. The person doesn't have the level of maturity or the level of understanding to even appreciate how much you do for them. The person doesn't have enough awareness around them to even understand how much losing you would affect them. Again, because they've expected this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is something like how can I put it? It's like when you have that automatic when your bills get paid automatically, you know what I'm saying? So it just automatically comes out your check. So you have to do nothing. It just automatically comes out your check. These bills are just automatically paid. And it's like once you lose that service, now you gotta go in and now you have to go pay all of these bills, even if you're still doing it online, but you have to now go to the website, put your password in, do this, do that for all of this stuff when you used to just not even have to think about it. It was never even a thought. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how it gets sometimes and that's how it gets sometimes in friendships, relationships, at work, wherever, you know what I'm saying? People get comfortable because the more that you do, the easier it is for the other person to get comfortable. If that other person knows, hey, I can slack off at work because DJ gon' step up. When DJ come in, he finna knock out this. He finna do whatever's left. So I know I can do little less. I can do less because I know DJ gonna come in and make sure this get done. You know, so the more that you do, the easier it is for the other people around you to become complacent. And sometimes you just gotta leave, you know what I'm saying? Because the more that you do it, especially once you start to see it and you start to say something and it's still going on. But if you continue to do the things for them, then at this point now you're enabling it. You know what I'm saying? And now you're becoming the enabler, and now you can't get mad at them for not appreciating you when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now that you've caught it, now that you've realized it, and you're still going out of your way to do stuff that you know they should be doing. You know that it's stuff that they could easily be doing. Like I said, whether it's stuff around the house, stuff at work, emails that need to be sent. It's little things that you know that they could be doing, but they're just relying on you or they're expecting you to do it. So they don't even think about it. Like, nah, that's just something that this person can handle. Nah, stop doing it. Stop doing those things. Or, you know, especially when it comes to work, because you don't want to lose your job behind it. Go talk to whoever you need to talk to, but some people have to feel it. Some people have to feel you. Talking to some people isn't going to be enough. They need to feel the ramifications of what's going on. They need to feel it. And again, like I say, especially in life, I'm one of those people who unfortunately have to learn certain things, not everything, but certain things I have to learn the hard way. Certain things I just have to go through because people gonna warn me now that I'm a little older, a little better with my understanding. I do take way more heed to people's words. So I put way more weight on people's words, especially if they've gone through what I'm going through, or they see me getting ready to go through something. I see me starting to tiptoe into an area that they've been in, and so they catch me. You know what I'm saying? They yank me by my collar and be like, "Hey, don't do that." I'm way more inclined to listen now because I understand the value of those conversations. When I was younger, it's just like, oh, that's just them talking. It's just the old heads talking just to talk. Whereas now it's like, no, that's gold. You know what I'm saying? I know how valuable those conversations are. Even if it's something that I'm not going through in that moment, I never know what life is going to take me. So I treat those conversations like gold. You know what I'm saying? I value those conversations because it may not relate to me right now, but it may relate to me a month from now, a year from now, or it may relate to somebody that I know. So for me, it's so important for me to just listen to people. And it ain't got to be an older person. It could be somebody younger than me, but just has gone through something I haven't been through. I appreciate all pieces of advice because I'm not one of those people who think, oh, you just 22. You ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing to teach me. I ain't got nothing to learn from you, man. I can learn from anybody. I can learn from everybody because you may be going through something that I've never gone through. So I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna hear you out, and it may never, and your advice may never affect my life because I may never go through it, but you just never know. But I had to get to this level of understanding where I see the importance of those conversations. And I want to say this, right? Because when I say I see the importance of those levels of conversations, what I mean is the conversations about stuff that I haven't been through. So I don't want to make it seem like when I listen to some of the older cats when I was younger that I just didn't listen to them at all. I listened to them when it pertained to something that I was actually dealing with. But if it was something that I wasn't dealing with, then I wouldn't really listen, or I wouldn't put as much investment into their words as I would if it's something that they actively sought me doing and they sat me down and they talked to me about, hey, you don't want to go to prison. Hey, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. You don't want to suffer the consequences that this action is going to have on you at some point in time. Okay, I'm listening because they see me doing, I know I'm doing it. Let me hear them out. But when they would talk about like love and women and all that stuff, I wasn't in that realm. I wasn't thinking about love. Love wasn't on my mind or nothing like that. So I wasn't putting as much weight into it. You know what I'm saying? So now, whether it's something that I'm going through or not going through, when people give advice, I listen. And so, you know, and it's just so crazy because now that I've gotten to that mindset of, man, if people are willing to give me free game, I'm going to listen. I get way more. If I could literally be at work in the cafeteria, just chilling, and a random person can come up to me and just be talking about something they got going on in life, something that don't pertain to nothing that I got going on, and I'll still listen because I just appreciate it because I understand that they're just giving warnings and they're giving advice. Now, what's the reason for them randomly coming up to me to give it? I don't know, but I'll receive it. I'll take all the advice and all the tips and, whatever life lessons that I can receive from other people. I'll take it, whether it's something that pertains to what I got going on in life right now or not. I'm going to take it all in. I'm going to absorb it and I'm going to use it. But one of the lessons that I'm learning is, man, yeah, sometimes you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes and not just go, but also set boundaries, because it's not enough to just leave, or it's not enough to just go. It's not enough to just separate yourself from that person. But now you have to set boundaries, so that way your next situation, your next job, your next relationship, your next friendship, whatever it is, you don't have to go through those same things. So now you know what you like and what you don't like. Now you know you can set that boundary. Now you know how big appreciation is for me. Now you know there needs to be an accountability, a certain level of accountability. There needs to be a certain level of understanding. There needs to be a certain level of communication. You know these things, so it's not just you. It's not just important to walk away, but it's also important to start setting those boundaries for yourself and for other people, because you set the tone for how other people treat you. You set the tone for how other people respect you, for how other people understand you. You know what I'm saying? You set those tones, and whenever people are get comfortable with, being below whatever standard you set, or whatever boundary you set, and they get comfortable with, trying to live or be inside of, or when they get comfortable with constantly being inside of that boundary that you set, then, or stepping outside that boundary, however you want to look at it. When they just stop respecting that boundary, then you know what I'm saying. You got to know when to move on. You got to know that it's important to stand on whatever boundaries you start setting for yourself. It's important to also stand on those boundaries, and I think I think boundaries is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned and have been applying to my life in like the past 6-7 months, is just learning how important boundaries are, how important it is to set boundaries, and how important it is to respect boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And also, like, just how important it is to stand on those boundaries and really mean it. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you violate these boundaries, then you got to go. So it's important to also enforce those penalties, or enforce those, whatever it is that you got, infractions, whatever it is, for those penalties, man, for them disrespecting the boundaries that you set. You know what I'm saying? I think that those things are just as important as deciding to leave, because again, you don't want to keep going through the same thing. So at some point you got to learn the lesson, and part of the learning the lesson is being able to set up things to prevent you from wasting your time too much. Because if somebody continues to constantly show you, especially in the beginning, something that you see as a undesirable trait, then 9 times out of 10, if they're showing you that in the beginning, then that's just a part of who they are, and that's going to be a part of what they do going forward. So, you know what I'm saying? Now that you start to set up these boundaries, and you see them continuing to disrespect your boundary, and you see them continuing to try to get you to lower your boundary or to move your boundary, so that they can get in, then you understand that this might not be a person that needs to be in your space. Like I said, whether it's just a friendship or it's romantically, co-worker, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? You start to see how important having boundaries are, because boundaries, like I said, set the tone for who you're going to have around you. Because if your boundaries start to make people uncomfortable, then 9 times out of 10, they don't need to be around you. You know what I'm saying? The people who need to be around you are the people who can hear your boundaries, respect your boundaries, and still y'all can have a good time, a good friendship, a good relationship, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if your boundaries start to make people too uncomfortable, then 9 times out of 10, they don't need to be around you, because your boundaries are there to protect you. You know what I'm saying? And if they can't understand that simple concept of, I'm putting this boundary here to protect me, to protect my heart, to protect my feelings, to protect this and protect that. For the people who are for you, they'll understand that, they'll see that, they'll respect that. For the people who are for themselves, all they see is what you not giving, or what you can't do for them, or what you refusing to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about perspective. So creating those boundaries do a lot for you. It shows you a lot. It helps people understand how to talk to you, how to come to you, how to address you. You know what I'm saying? I'm really just starting to understand the importance of boundaries and the importance of what not having boundaries can do and what and when you don't have boundaries, what that can lead to, and how easily people get comfortable with disrespecting you because you don't have those boundaries. So man, it's just as important to have those boundaries, man. It's just as important as leaving and getting your respect and all those things, man. You gotta start getting those, you still gotta start getting those boundaries. So man, just to wrap up the conversation, man, sometimes you just gotta leave, man. I know like the phrase has been going around, go where you're celebrated and not tolerated, but go where you're appreciated. You know what I'm saying? And stay away from those places where you aren't appreciated and stop making things so comfortable for people. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to let people get uncomfortable so they can grow. We all understand that there is no growth in comfort. You're not going to grow in your comfort zone. You're going to stay constrained to your comfort zone. So make things uncomfortable for a few people and see what happens. See if they start to grow or if they start to go. You know what I'm saying? But start to shake things up and make people uncomfortable, get them out their comfort zone so that way you can start to see, is this something that can continue because they starting to grow, or if it's something that you need to let go of and start setting those boundaries. I think the boundaries are so important for you and for the people around you. Start setting your boundaries for yourself. Start letting people know how to respect you and the things that you can and can't or can and won't tolerate. You know, so start setting those boundaries. Start doing the things that you need to do to make sure that people understand what's out of bounds and what's in bounds. Start setting those boundaries up. But man, that's today's show. I want to thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms y'all are listening on. I want to thank y'all for taking the time to listen. And for anybody watching on YouTube, y'all already know, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Want to keep growing, and y'all have a blessed day.